Now, your forecast first, sponsored by Matex Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing.
All right, a calm night across central Illinois. Things looking pretty good. Showers and a few storms in northern Illinois, but here across our neck of the woods, things are looking mighty fine. Temperatures tonight already back down into the 60s in a few spots. Decatur's at 69, Paris. Danville's 68 and 70 in Champaign. Out the door at the bus stop in the morning on this Friday. We're going to find 64 degrees and a mix of sun and clouds out there. Highs in the mid-80s tomorrow, another warm day, but we could have some rain around. We'll show you when it really ramps up coming up. WCIA 3 News starts right now.
Now from WCIA 3 News.
They work very, very, very hard in order to get their money.
But someone's stolen some of it from a youth football league, and they didn't try it just once. It took 2 years to put Ying Zhang's killer behind bars, but it took almost a month to find him first. How investigators did it.
He checked me real quick and said, I think he's having a stroke.
And the doctor who treated him wasn't even in the same room. How expanding telehealth across the state could save lives.
You're watching your local news leader. This is WCIA 3 News at 10.
It makes me sick that people will steal from children.
A youth football league was robbed of fundraising money and more, and whoever did it also tampered with the security footage that could have been used to catch them. Good evening, I'm Jessica Coons. Paul is off tonight. This is a frustrating case for parents in Vermilion County. The Hoopeston Hornets clubhouse was broken into sometime between Tuesday night and Wednesday afternoon. WCIA 3's Jennifer Jensen joins us. Jennifer, this isn't the first time somebody's tried to break in there.
Jessica, the league president says on Sunday night someone tried to pry the lock open on the clubhouse door. But even after replacing the lock and installing security cameras, it didn't stop the crime from continuing.
Thursday afternoon was filled with football drills as the Hoopeston Hornet Youth League practiced for the next big game. Besides the tackles on the field, the team's clubhouse took an unexpected hit.
These kids deserve better, so for someone to come in and take anything from them is extremely infuriating to me.
Somebody pried the lock and tried to break in Sunday night, so the league bought a new lock and installed camera equipment at the building.
Apparently that wasn't going to deter anyone, because then yesterday we came in, and when I walked in and I put my key in the door, I didn't even have to turn it. I just put it in and it actually just pulled right open. That's missing, that's missing, that's missing.
League president Tracy Cole came in to see the place had been ransacked.
There was candy on the floor, and I knew I had cleaned up the night before, so something was amiss.
Whoever broke in stole boxes of candy they used for fundraising and took $40 out of $75 they had stashed away under the concession stand. The thief also went upstairs and got rid of the evidence.
We wanted to look and see what we could find on the cameras, and the hard drive was missing, so we can't actually even find out who did it.
The league did report this to the police. Even though it's petty cash and candy, it's a massive disappointment for parents of kids who work so hard to raise money to be on the team.
It's pretty sad if you have to, steal from a kid's organization. Stuff that they use, money that they raised, it's not right.
Hoopeston police are still investigating to find out who did this. In the control room, I'm Jennifer Jensen, WCIA 3, your local news leader.
All right, hopefully they get a lead. Jennifer, thank you. It's a case we followed for years. Now U of I police investigators are sharing their story on the search for Ying Zhang's killer and their interrogation of him. Zhang was kidnapped more than 2 years ago, and investigators worked tirelessly to find her. Brent Christensen will spend life in prison, but before he was caught and convicted, detectives met with him face-to-face to press him for information.
At what point did you know he did it?
Well, I had a strong feeling that he did it after the discovery of that he was the owner of the car that had the broken hubcap.
You can watch their uncut interviews right now on WCIA.com. We are still following the case being built against a former U of I professor. Several women filed complaint against Gary Hsu, accusing him of rape, forced labor, and beatings. Legal action could be taken against the U of I tomorrow if an agreement is not reached with his accusers. Their attorneys want the school to come to terms on what they're calling a tolling agreement It would remove the statute of limitations for their clients and allow them to sue the university. We will keep you updated on what happens. New tonight, a U of I student was scammed out of $7,000. The caller said they were with the U.S. Marshal Service and that the student's social security number was implicated in a money laundering and drug trafficking investigation. They told her to withdraw cash and convert it to Bitcoin. When the student couldn't do that, they told her to buy gift cards and transfer the card information. An Atwood man pleaded guilty in federal court to having sex with minors. Dennis West was charged with sexual exploitation and possession of child pornography. A teenager and a 10-year-old said they were paid to have sex with him and send him nude photos. The Edgar County Jail might have to close. Parts of it are more than a century old and it needs a lot of upgrades. The sheriff has proposed a new sales tax to keep at least a portion of the jail open. He and county board members are currently talking with other counties about ways to cut costs. New at 10, a Coles County Fire Department is getting a grant to replace old equipment. Almost $83,000 will be used to buy a dozen new self-contained breathing apparatus in Charleston. The total cost is more than $90,000, and the city will cover what's left in between. The department's current equipment is 15 years old. Over at the Capitol, lawmakers are calling for a statewide ban on flavored e-cigs. The goal is to keep them away from young people. Vape shop managers we talked with say the move feels like an attack on their industry and that it might protect kids, but would also close their doors.
This flavor ban would do nothing to address the problem of youth vaping. It would do everything to take choices away from grown Illinois customers. You're limiting adult choices for the sake of children when it's already illegal for the children to buy them or to sell them to them.
Lawmakers will talk about the proposal when they go back for veto session next month. The CDC is talking about vaping at the national level. They say the number of vaping-related illnesses has risen to 530. So far, 8 people have died. They can't pinpoint a cause, but some patients reported using e-cig products containing THC, the psychoactive ingredient in marijuana. The FDA has started its own investigation. What if a doctor could save your life without being in the same room? That's what happened to one man in Shelby County, and it could soon happen to more. WCIA 3's Cole Henke explains.
Scott Fries has 4 children, is a member of his local Lions Club, and he loves his bikes. But all of that was threatened when he had a stroke.
My sister noticed I wasn't feeling well, and I had trouble sitting down. Well, luckily the gentleman sitting next to me had worked for an ambulance service, and he had his radio and stuff with him. He checked me real quick, and he said, I think he's having a stroke.
Fries lives in Stewardson, but thanks to telehealth technology, Scott was taken to the nearest hospital in Effingham, examined by a team of specialists in Ohio, and administered a TPA drug, all within a half an hour of his stroke. And more help like this could be coming. Money in Illinois' new capital bill would expand telehealth access to other rural parts of the state and help more people like Fries.
You know, I knew they were doing an evaluation by the computer, but that to find out where they were and that they'd be that precise, yeah, I was just amazed.
Telehealth procedures can be used to treat and monitor many other conditions and illnesses besides just strokes. But health insurance providers don't always front the bill. Now, hospital officials are excited that telehealth may become more viable for people across Illinois now that the state is sponsoring its expansion.
Health, it's as varied as doing in-hospital ICU monitoring remotely and to actually taking care of chronic diseases at home like asthma, congestive heart failure, or even monitoring your heart rhythms.
Fries counts himself lucky. He knows others who did not receive as rapid of a treatment as he did for a stroke, and their lives changed completely. Meanwhile, Fries returned to work only a week later.
The fact that we can get telemedicine out there and make it equal for everyone. You know, let's level the playing field.
In Stewardson, Cole Henke, WCIA 3, your local news leader.
The state is investing $420 million to expand broadband access to rural areas in Illinois. Besides telehealth, the increased internet access is meant to improve educational and economic development opportunities for people across the state. One beach is at risk of closing because water there is drying up. What's being done to save it? Plus, every baseball fan wants their team to start out like this.
Get on a lead right off the bat.
And we've got both Cubs and Cards fans hoping for that tonight. And later, some people have very specific game day traditions, but for Illinois' athletic director, gets the entire community involved.